I'm gonna reach for the stars, although they look pretty far. I'm gonna find my own way and take a chance on today. The sky would start so bright, the colors feel so right. I've never felt like this, I keep on running. The sky would start so bright, the colors feel so right. Just take my hand, we're gonna reach for the stars tonight.
Thomas, Percy, James, Gordon, Toby, Edward, and Henry. For years, these 7 engines were the most recognizable engines of the Railway series, and for good reasons. They were the very first ever engines to be introduced, all the way back in Season 1, or Series 1, depending on whether or not you lived in the UK. And while there are definitely other characters that have been introduced in Season 1 or Series 1, these 7 engines were the most important characters of Season 1 to us at least. They taught us many important life lessons like how to be a good friend or why you should work hard. And while the team has changed over time for better or for worse, your disgrace, these 7 engines are still iconic. And today, I'm going to be ranking all 7 engines from worst to best. Now before I get this list started, I wanted to make 2 things clear. First off, I don't hate any members of the Steam team. I think that they're all great in their own right. And 2, I'm excluding Thomas because if he was on this list, he'd be number 1 and I just feel like it would be too much of a cop-out. So with those 2 explanations out of the way, let's get on to the list, shall we? Number 6. Edward the Blue Engine. Now like I said before, I don't hate any members of the Steam team. They're all great in their own right. But for Edward, I just found him the least interesting because he doesn't have any flaws. Which ironically makes him more flawed than the rest of the characters. I mean, just take a look at the rest of the characters' flaws. Thomas is cheeky and so is Percy. James is vain and hot-headed. And Henry can be stubborn and lazy, just like Gordon. But what about Edward? Does he have any flaws? Not that I could remember. I mean, I guess you could say that he did have struggles on pulling trains sometimes, but even then, he was able to conquer that. And even if you argue by saying that that's the whole point of his character, I'm still not gonna find him as interesting as the other members of the Steam team. But he does have his pros like how he's kind and wise, and plus he was one of the very first engines to be introduced by Rev W. Aldry. Overall, Edward isn't the worst character in the entire series. I like him, but he's just way too flawless for me to find him interesting. Number 5. Toby the Tram Engine. Now my reasons for not liking Toby as much as the rest of the engines is about as same as Edward's reason. He's just too perfect. I mean, even the narrator tells you how flawless he is on Toby's very first episode.
The cars, buses, and trucks often have accidents. Toby hasn't had an accident for years.
So I'm not going to delve into too much reasoning on why Toby's on the second to last place, but just want to let you guys know he's too perfect. Plus, he does have the same pros as Edward, except for being the very first engine to be introduced. And you do feel sorry for him in his very first episode, so I guess that's the reason why I like him more than Edward. Number 4. Gordon the Big Engine. Finally, we can get to a character that actually has flaws. But yeah, Gordon is my 4th favorite of the Steam team. And while sometimes he may be lazy, stubborn, and a jerk, there is one thing that he has that Edward and Toby doesn't have. He actually has accidents. Look, a few karmas here and there goes a long way, okay? But that's not the only reason why I prefer Gordon over Edward and Toby. Other than being one of the very first engines to be introduced into the Railway series, whenever I see Gordon pulling the Express, I always get a sense of proudness, strength, and speed from him. Like I can do anything. It's just so good. And the music along with it just makes it all the more amazing. Overall, Gordon is a big, proud, and flawed character that I can't help but like. Even if he is named after a real-life bully. True story. Number 3. Percy the Small Engine. Ah yes, Percy, one of the most cheerful and cheeky engines ever, besides Thomas. He's really hard to hate, and with him being the smallest of the steam team, he is really quite cute. Though with his cheeky personality, I would be lying if I said that he was perfect, because he's far from being perfect. But even with his flaws, Percy is still a great engine, and I wouldn't think of any other engine that would be perfect for being Thomas's best friend. Number 2. Henry the Green Engine. Ah yes, Henry. When we were first introduced to him, we couldn't help but feel sorry for him, because even though he did make the mistake of not coming out of the tunnel, we still felt sorry for him when he got bricked up. It's not helped by the fact that in the UK dub, they actually said that Henry deserved his punishment.
But I think he deserved his punishment. Don't you?
Dang, a little too harsh there, Ringo? Anyways, a couple of episodes after that incident, we start discovering more and more about Henry, and soon enough, we discover the tragedy behind him. Henry is actually a disabled engine, having a little firebox while the other engines have big fireboxes. And with his own uniquely sad music, we truly do feel sorry for him. But after his unfortunate incident with the flying kipper, Henry finally gets a new shape and a larger firebox, which finally makes him very happy. But don't get me wrong, Henry is not perfect, and can be a jerk just like Gordon, which thankfully karma serves him. But he is one of the very first engines to be introduced, plus he is great, and when he pulls the flying kipper, it is one of the most beautiful scenes in the island of Sodor. Number 1. James the Red Engine. Ah yes, James, the most splendid, brightest, and reddest engine of the island of Sodor. I love James, and even though he may be a hot-headed, vain jerk, you gotta admit, when karma serves him, it's the best thing ever in the Thomas and Friends series. Another reason why I love James is a pretty much obvious one. He's red, and red is my absolute favorite color. I remember watching the Power Rangers SPD series when I was a little kid, and seeing the Red Ranger leading the team against monsters was just the coolest thing ever, which led me into actually loving the color red. But back to Thomas and Friends, and my final and biggest reason why I love James. The biggest reason on why I love James so much is his theme song. Aside from Thomas, I think James has the best theme song of the entire series. It's so good, in fact, that I decided to end off this James segment with the theme song. Enjoy. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Please leave a like and comment down below on what's your favorite member of the theme team, or if you want some more Thomas themed content from my channel. I would like to do some more, and subscribe to this channel for more of these content. And as always, I'll see you guys in another random time. See ya!